I've told so many lies about this that I don't really know which one's true. I can't remember the truth. I did make up a slight story that it was, or hinted at that it was, that I made enamel planes and things like that. I remember being quite fascinated going around a friend's house at school, and they had them all hanging from their bedroom ceiling like a kid would do in a Hollywood film, you know.
I got into it originally when I was about 5, and my dad built me an Airfix kit, I think.
It always used to be get pocket money Saturday morning, go to Woolworths, buy a kit, bring it home, build it, paint it, and all finished in time for Doctor Who.
The hobby's gone from us blowing up planes as kids with bangers and air guns on washing lines to white, fat, middle-aged men making extra detailed models.
I must have about 50 Humbrol tinlets indoors from years ago. Half of them probably won't be any good, but I can't get rid of them. Nostalgia, I suppose.
I was drawing when I went to the Royal College. I was just drawing quite naive little graffiti-inspired pictures. The garages I ended up painting, they were the graffiti on the garages. So I took photographs of the garages to get the graffiti to be reference points for the paint, for these kind of gestural paintings that I was making. And then gradually I kind of stepped back. Instead of the drawing, I ended up painting the garages. A painting of the garages instead of a painting of the graffiti on the garages. The paints which I had to hand were these enamel paints. How they were in my studio, I don't know. They have a particular resonance of the primary school, of after-school clubs, of Saturday afternoon, rainy Saturday afternoons making things. Blue Peter. These are all things which are very far away from the National Gallery or masterpieces. Is the right word vernacular? Is that the right word? It has a sort of utilitarian aspect to it. You need to stick something down. You need to paint something. It needs to last a certain time, and they're readily available. You could buy them in the hardware shop. You didn't have to go into town to get them from a specialist art store. I'll come to that in a minute. Right, that's normally that's a tinlet.
Yeah.
That's what they're called, tinlets.
Yeah.
It had no pretence to be modern. It had no pretence to be legitimate. It just was so old and basic. It was as basic as a cave painting, and it was as basic as a scrawl on the back of a toilet door. So that one's open like 10 days. This one was open 3-4 days ago, and I'm just opening this one now. So there's nothing there. So if I start to stir it, it's quite thick at the bottom and very wet at the top. I like the conceit that I'm mixing time into it. Got magic. From the moment of opening the tin of paint, it's its own thing. It doesn't seem to want to be absorbed back into history. It doesn't want to be absorbed back into the art shop. It's kind of fights to always fight. It's always fighting just to be itself, which seems odd. It seems quite a pretentious thing to say. So you're always fighting against it. It does not want to collude with you to create a masterpiece. it's continually slipping off the brush, it dries too quick, it dries too slow. It refuses absolutely everything. As a result of it, they're made slowly because I have to think about it all the time. There's no technique to painting a leaf or painting a flat, even a flat colour. It's just, oh, for fuck's sake, look, a load of stuff has just settled, a fly's landed or something. It's just continually conspiratorial. And then you're forcing it into a very, very popular image, populist image. You know, an image that someone who's not been to art school or been to an art gallery could appreciate or see what it is. So you're bending it sometimes like a blacksmith. It's a bit like trying to grow a plant in a desert or something. If you look at the photographs or a watercolour or something in another medium of these images, nothing happens. They seem to be quite static, quite dead, quite forgettable, even from my point of view. So, but when they get rendered in this paint, that fight that I kind of go through, that's what lifts it up. So the paint has a sort of glamour to it. It's shiny, and they look kind of wet. They always look kind of as though they're not finished. I quite like the idea of painting not as an object, but as a doing word. So it's always it's an activity, not an object. I end up painting the same bit over and over again.
Yeah.
It's because I don't want to make it look like I've made an effort, so I'm sort of trying to create the tree just out of the twizzle of the paint.
Yeah. Why don't you want it to look like...
Well, I don't want it to look like I've kind of a ladybird book illustration. Because it's kind of quite easy to do. I could do a really tight drawing and then just colour it in. But I like it to kind of just look like it's just appeared. Which in some of the way it hovers between being paint and being like a twig,
yeah,
keeps it sort of alive, really. Keeps it almost like half finished.
Yeah.
And as I've said before, trying to make a painting look like it's a living thing rather than a dead thing. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made about the work was telling anybody it was a real place. I wished I'd never done that. I wished I'd just kept quiet. I just quite like the idea that it would be a constant source of mystery to everyone. No one knew where it was. It was just made up. So it started to, in the same way that the paint lifted it lift the subject for me to be able to turn it into a subject for my own voice. That the place would become lifted into the realms of imagination, so it would become like a fantasy place, almost like science fiction, and nowhere, and then becomes easily read as allegory rather than social realism. I remember seeing a big train set on Blue Peter or something, and being fascinated by all the hills and the bus stops and stuff like that. I wasn't interested in the OO gauge or anything like that. Just the way in which it has been made to look like a real place. You know, the baker's shop and all that sort of. That was I quite like model villages. I went to a model village once on the Isle of Wight, I remember. In a way, what the models and the dioramas and all that, what they're doing is helping people to daydream. because it's sort of getting them on the way. They're not conjuring something entirely out of the ether, but they're kind of helping them. So, there's some hills and there's some figures, and you can move them where you want. It's not 100% coming from nowhere, but it kind of helps you on the way, and it does go somewhere. It does go somewhere. Some of it is fetishised, some of them, rather than... I'm not a political activist. I will get on a soapbox every now and again, but the work isn't... It's quite dumb, in a way, quite mute. There's no people in it, for a start. There's no... They've all... Well, have they woke up, have they? Is it like the... So it's more science fiction than social realism.
A Spitfire in the lab the other day.
But clearly, what happened with these, they would just get destroyed anyway. Kids would just break them. They would hang limp on bits of fishing wire, from ceilings. Daft, limp, kind of symbol of failure.
Why is it a symbol of failure?
Well, just because it's a model plane. It's not a real plane. It's a killing machine, essentially, or it's a machine to be killed in. It's basically a tomb or a gun. I had a little bit of correspondence with the family that initially owned Humbrol, and they sent me a couple of things from their archive. It's all useless, isn't it? That's quite...
That's cute, yeah.
It looks like sweets. Let's say, I haven't got my glasses on, let's say monster colours.
Monster colours.
Good. Actually, I did make models.
So you did make models?
I did make models. Right, I've just had my Proustian Madeleine moment. I've just seen this Humbrol monster colours, and what have we got? Devil red, ghastly yellow, ghost white. And it made me think that I had made models. And you think these must have gone on some kind of model. And one of the things that we bought was monsters. There was a mummy, the werewolf, Dracula, Frankenstein's monster. They were about, 8 inches high, and they had a little diorama that they sat on, little kind of foot pedestal, and you made them, and they had fluorescent hands and faces. I've never thought about it. There might even be a photograph in the photograph album of me very proudly showing. Oh my God, I've completely forgotten about it. I seem to remember the photo in the photo album is I've got fangs. But of course, I mean, the funny thing about it is these models, which should be domestic and quite humble, they all seem to be about death and destruction, whether it be Spitfires or vampires. The death is lurking in the corners of these paint pots all the time, really.